Is it true? Does moss actually grow on the north side of the tree? And if so, is it a reliable compass? Let's talk about that. Okay, so right now we're out in my woods. You can see here there's moss growing up the side of this tree. This is a fairly good sized cherry tree, at least for around where we are. And you can see around the edge that there's not moss growing anywhere except on this side. So I'm going to talk a little bit about moss, and then I'll show you guys if this is the north side or what side this is. Moss is a very simple plant. All it really needs to grow is shade and lots of moisture. So it'll grow in places that rains a lot or water kind of pools up. It'll grow on the edges of those places. So you can see like there's lots of moss on the bottoms of these trees, and that's because it's raining a lot right now. It's springtime where I live, and it's been raining for like 3-4 days straight. So right now the moss is flourishing on the bottom of these trees. You can see, like I showed you before, the moss is just growing on this side of the tree, and that is because it is protected on this side of the tree. It can't be too windy or rainy, because if too much wind and rain hits that moss, it'll die. So it's usually going to want to grow in protected, shady, and moist places. It's not usually very reliable to rely on moss as a compass. You can see this is growing on one particular side of the tree. It doesn't really grow on any other side of the tree besides this one side. And you can see on the other trees, it's not growing up the tree really. It's just sitting at the base, and it's all around the tree. It's not just on one side. So if you are lost in the woods and you don't have a compass, this is growing on one side of the tree, but none of the other trees really have it growing on the sides. It's growing all the way around the base. So you can see on this tree, it goes all the way around. It's very few and far between that it just grows on one side of the tree, because we have lots of pines and popples that it just grows on the base. It doesn't really grow up the tree. I had to find this tree. It's kind of just off our driveway, and this is the best example that I've found, that it's just growing on that one side. And another question, is moss bad for the tree? And it's growing in every single one of these trees. And originally I would have thought that it rots the tree almost, because it needs lots of moisture, and moisture usually is a big factor for trees, and they are rotting. So I thought it would hurt the tree, but it doesn't. It's actually helping the tree in some cases, because it has communities of microorganisms that live in the moss and in the roots and on top of the moss, which is helping the tree in some cases. So like I was saying before, it depends on what hemisphere you live in. See, I live in the northern hemisphere, so the moss is going to be growing more on the north side of the tree. Not always. It really depends, like I said, where the wind is, where the rain is blowing, everything like that. But for us, we live in the northern hemisphere. Most of the time, it probably will grow on the north side because it's protected. Southern hemisphere, it'll probably grow more on the south side. But I'll get out a compass and I'll show you guys what side this moss is growing on. So I have this compass here, and it doesn't look like the zero is lined up with the line. But if you go straight on, the camera's not straight on the compass right now, it is lined up, and you can see that's facing north. And if I back up, you can see that this moss is pointing north. Not all moss grows on the north side. It's hard to line up the compass so you can see the tree and the compass. I can try to back up here. So you can kind of see that the moss is pointing almost exactly north. It's a little bit maybe northeast. So yes, some trees do have a north-facing moss. I'd say it's hard to rely on that because there are some that don't. So the moral to this is just carry a compass. It's not fully reliable. I'll show you a couple more trees with moss growing on the sides, and I'll show you that they're not all facing north. So yes, it does grow on the north side, but it also grows on any side of the tree that is most protected and most shaded. So if another tree was growing on the other side of this tree, like a big pine or something, that side is shaded, the moss might be growing over there. So I'll show you a couple more cases of moss growing on the side of the tree, and we'll wrap up the video. I just wanted to say I really appreciate you. If you want to consider subscribing, it really helps. It motivates me to keep making videos, and I'm really glad people have enjoyed them and want to learn more. So you can see on this side of the tree, the moss is growing kind of up the tree, and on the other sides, it's not really. So this tree, the moss is facing east. So if you were lost in the woods, you came along on this, and you were like, oh, the moss is growing on this side of the tree, I need to continue this way, that would direct you the wrong way, because the other one is facing north. This way, it's facing east. So that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.